After a miserable week in Tampa, the Rangers went to DC, and after a frustrating first game, the Rangers bounced back the way they have always bounced back this year. And of course, that's with the rotation.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering the team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about this weird weekend series in DC, the Rangers rotation being a million times better than last year. We'll get into why a million specifically, or maybe just generally later on in this show, and a little bit more about what this team needs to do to get back in the hunt. Before we get into all that, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Now, the Rangers coming off of a truly abysmal sweep at the hands of the Tampa Bay Rays, 3 of the stupidest losses of the year, and they head into DC against a not very good, young, scrappy, interesting Nationals team, but not a good Nationals team. And what do they do in that first game? But they get shut out and look miserable doing so. A very good performance from Patrick Corbin in his return to DC. Only 2 strikeouts, no walks, and 2 runs allowed in an 8-inning complete game, 2-0 loss. Yeah, that's right. He goes the distance, and the distance is only 8 innings because, he might have gone 9 if the Rangers had been able to score 3 runs and would have gotten maybe a complete game win. But alas, the Rangers offense did a whole bunch of nothing in that one. Just 3 base runners in total against Mike Soroka and, of course, Brandon Finnegan finishing it off. But this was just a truly frustrating way to start this weekend. And I thought, okay, well, that's about how this is going to go. That's about how this weekend is going to go. That is about doing it for the Texas Rangers on the season. Well, I thought that after the weekend or the midweek series against Tampa Bay Rays, but with Jacob deGrom on the hill, you don't have to do much to get the win there, especially against a Nationals offense that is better than the Rangers offense, has significantly better hitters right now than this Rangers offense, including, the top 2 hitters in this lineup being better than pretty much any Ranger on this offense right now in CJ Abrams and James Wood. But still, the Rangers put Jacob deGrom to the hill, and they did just enough to get the win on Saturday and on Sunday. This offense tallying a whopping 5 runs for Jacob deGrom, and really all you needed was 1 because deGrom was absolutely obliterating the Washington Nationals, lowers his season ERA to 2.12 with just 2 hits allowed, 9 of them particularly hard hit, 1 an opposite field single, 99 miles an hour off the bat, who was immediately caught stealing, and then Nathaniel Lowe getting a hit on high velocity, something that the Rangers did not think that he could do, and he really hasn't done for the vast majority of his career, but bloops in a single off of Jacob deGrom in the middle of a 1-for-3 day with a couple of strikeouts. deGrom 7 shutty with no walks, just those 2 hits and 8 strikeouts. He was fantastic. Luke Jackson comes in, pitches a scoreless 8th inning, and then Chris Martin comes in after a little bit of a scare in the warm-up on Thursday's game. After his return from the injured list, not too much before that, he comes and pitches a perfect inning, 1-2-3 with a strikeout. He lowers his season ERA down to 1.74. The Rangers get the win. And then on Sunday in a bullpen game, Rangers trying to give their starters just a little bit extra rest instead of throwing Tyler Mahle on regular rest of just the 4 days rest. They give him just a little bit of a break, giving him 2 days rest, throwing that bullpen game. And Jacob Latz looks incredible. in that game, charged with 2 runs, one of them a solo shot that was definitely his fault. I feel like inherited runners, when they're allowed to score, should only count as half an earned run if they're on first base. But maybe we go point 0.6, maybe they're 0.75 runs if they're at second base. Maybe at third, you can get charged for the full run because if you leave an inherited runner at third, maybe you factor in how many outs there are. But if you leave a runner at first base with 1 out and that run scores, I feel like that shouldn't count as an entire earned run towards your ERA. Latz was throwing the front end of a bullpen game. The Rangers were able to throw such a good bullpen game. Bruce Bochy talked about why the Rangers were able to be so effective in that Sunday game. It's because, well, they didn't have to use the pen at all in that complete game 2-0 loss for Patrick Corbin. So, credit to him. And he made it go mighty on the full 9 because he only needed 89 pitches to throw that complete game, 8-inning, 2-run, 2-0 shutout. And then Jacob deGrom just mowing Nationals down. And not just did he go 7 innings of near perfect baseball, he was incredibly economical while doing so. 81 pitches for him. I mean, he might have been able to go and get the complete game shutout. But again, the Rangers had a pretty decent lead at that point when he would have gone back out there for the 8th inning. The Rangers were up 5-0, so it wasn't exactly a high leverage spot. And the Rangers, this is where you can see them being careful with those Jacob deGrom bullets. This is where you can see them, kind of trying to be a little bit on the conservative side. It's not the way that at least I thought it would be early on in this season of just going ahead and full on skipping a start and only seeing Jacob deGrom pitching on, 5 or 6 days rest. No, this was him, pitching on basically normal rest, not that much extra rest, but still with a 5-run lead and a rested enough bullpen that they could just get those final 6 outs without giving up 5+ runs and lost. You said, okay, why bother? Well, why bother? He's at 81 pitches. He doesn't need to go anymore. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to add, a complete game shutout to the stat sheet. Maybe he could have done a Mannix and thrown 9 innings without topping that 100 pitch mark, but you didn't have to. So you don't want to. You got to save those bullets because this rotation is so important to this team. The offense not doing a whole lot this weekend. I know they scored 5 runs and then 4 runs in the final game, but that's still averaging just 3 runs. But when this team scores 4+ runs, they are basically unbeatable with how good this rotation has been. And it honestly felt a little bit like a miracle that they got the 4 runs on Sunday because they were 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Could have been a lot bigger of a blow, but I want to go back to Jacob Latz in this bullpen game. He left with a little bit of a cut on his thumb, said it wasn't that big of a deal. He said he's probably going to be just fine, but going a 3 1/3 innings, striking out 7, including getting a double play ball, he looked awesome. I mean, truly awesome in this game, especially in a bullpen game where the rest of the bullpen very much did their jobs. Jacob Webb, not amazing, not elite, especially when he let that inherited runner from first base score, but still 1 2/3 innings, didn't strike anybody out, didn't allow any walks, just the one hit that ended up scoring the run, or they ended up driving the runner to third base and the ground out that ended up scoring the run, but still a very good job for him. Howie Miller coming in and pitching a couple innings. He's been exceptional so far this season. Sean Armstrong comes in, gets a couple of outs and then strikes out a batter. And then Robert Garcia comes on, gets the 4-out save, including with a couple of strikeouts. The only hit he gives up was that double to Nathaniel Lowe that probably could have been caught, probably could have also maybe been charged as an error to the left fielder Alejandro Ozuna, who I'll talk about a little bit later. I'm starting to get concerned that he will not be in the big leagues for that much longer. But again, he comes in and he works around that leadoff double to the guy who he was traded for in Nathaniel Lowe. Gets a couple of strikeouts, including one to finish out this game. He looked exceptional. He has been looking exceptional in that closer's role. I think he is going to stay there probably through the end of this season, but the rest of this bullpen coming in and doing their jobs, a very, very important win. And the Rangers need to start rattling off some wins. We're talking about how they can do that and context for how incredibly good this rotation is, especially compared to last year's. Talk about all that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory from over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Shout out to the everydayers being Locked On Rangers, your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, we'll be back and talking about this series starting up against the Minnesota Twins. Sorry, I missed this Monday episode. I was at an out-of-town wedding with family all weekend long, and the weekend ended up stretching into Monday. But I'll be back with hopefully 5 episodes this week. I'm going to try and get one out on Saturday as well so that y'all still have all 5 shows this week. But this Rangers rotation has been so incredibly good this season, to the point where I thought, it feels like everybody in the top 3 of this rotation is already better than what was happening last year. And I went and I added up the baseball reference war of all the starting pitchers that the Rangers used last year. Well, at least the top 7, because I included Michael Lorenzen, who got 18 starts for the Rangers before he was traded off at the deadline. I included Dane Dunning. I included Cody Bradford. I also included Max Scherzer, who got 9 starts for the Texas Rangers last year. And if you add up all of those top 7 starting pitchers in the Rangers rotation last year, they had a total of 5.7 baseball reference war, with the leader being Nathan Eovaldi at 2.2. You also had Michael Lorenzen at 1.5. You also had Cody Bradford at 1.1. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of, help. I mean, Heaney was solid in 160 innings, but only a 0.7 baseball reference. It was a lot of quite a few negatives, and Dane Dunning at 0.6. If I had included Jack Leiter, who made 6 starts, he had a negative 1.6 baseball reference war. That would have really drove it down. But 5.7 baseball reference war for the top 7 starters in the Ranger rotation last year. That's not great. It's not horrible, but it's not great. They were at least above average. The rotation wasn't the reason why the Rangers lost last year. It was a little bit of the other side of the bullpen and definitely the offense. But you look at this year, you already combined the top 6 pitchers. Outside of Jacob Latz, the only 6 starting pitchers who have pitched for the Rangers this year, they have a combined where'd we go? 7.4 baseball reference war. Already 1.7 wins better than last year's rotation. That's even including Kumar Rocker's negative 1.1 baseball reference war this season. That cancels out what Patrick Corbin and Jack Leiter have done. Both of them combined for positive 1.4 war. But you look at Jacob deGrom, Tyler Mahle, Nathan Eovaldi, deGrom at 2.5, Mahle at 2.2, Nathan Eovaldi, even after missing a couple of starts now at 2.7, still leading this rotation. All of those are better than the Rangers' top starting pitcher last year. Nathan Eovaldi led the team with 2.2 baseball reference war. That is right now would be 3rd best on this Texas Rangers squad. And we're not even through 70 games. Already a third of the way into this rotation, the rotation has added more wins to this team than last year through 162. The best pitcher. That's crazy. It is crazy how much better this rotation is than last year's. I mean, you have 3 starting pitchers with a sub 2.2 ERA. Jacob deGrom, 2.12. Tyler Mahle, 2.02. Nathan Eovaldi, 1.56. You look at the rotation as a whole and how good they've been. Right now, they're 2nd in baseball to the New York Mets, who have an astonishing 2.85 ERA. The Rangers, right now, through 66 games, have a 2.9 ERA. That's the best in the American League. That is better than the Detroit Tigers, who have Tarek Skubal, who has been unbelievable, probably going to win his 2nd straight Cy Young. This one might be unanimous, I believe, as well. I think last year's was unanimous, or at least it should have been. And the rest of the rotation is also pretty good. The Royals have an incredibly good, incredibly deep rotation. The Rangers have been better than them this year. A 2.9 ERA, that's nearly a full run better than the best Rangers starter last year. in Nathan Eovaldi at a 3.8, and he only just got it down to a 3.8 at the very end of the year. I mean, this Rangers rotation is absolutely exceptional. And even the bad starters are still really good. We'll talk a little bit about Kumar Rocker, who has shown a lot of potential. I'll talk about why he needs to be in the minor leagues and what couple of tweaks he needs to make, and why I'm frustrated that he hasn't made them so far, but why the struggles are actually a good thing in that third segment. But still, this Rangers rotation has been unbelievably good. And the bullpen has been pretty good to fine at points, mostly pretty solid enough. Again, it's just this offense that has not been good, but can get going. I mean, there was a team in the last 7 years, I think it's 6 years ago. Yes, my math is mathing correctly, that got off to a pretty poor start and ended up winning the World Series. Actually, there have been a couple of them in the last 7 years. They've been odd year teams. The 2019 Nationals is the one that I'm talking about specifically. And the Rangers have a player that was on the 2019 Nationals in Patrick Corbin. He was a big part of that team winning the World Series. Right now, the Rangers are 31-35 through 66 games. That was exactly the same record that the Washington Nationals had at this point in the season. And they also had Patrick Corbin. Now, Patrick Corbin was a little bit better for them than he is with the Rangers right now. Not to take away from what Patrick Corbin has done right now, which has been infinitely more than the Rangers expected when they signed him, a week or so before the season started, with basically no spring training. No, with no spring training, just one simulated game, and he has been doing this for the Texas Rangers. But that Nationals team caught fire. Same with the 2021 Atlanta Braves team that caught fire. And the Braves were down a superstar in Ronald Acuna Jr., who's probably better than anybody on this team right now. Acuna went down, and the Braves retooled their team at the deadline in 2021, including with a resurgent Jock Peterson, who was having a bad year with the Cubs. They brought him in. They completely reworked their entire outfield, made some really, really good trade deadline moves, and caught fire and ended up winning the World Series. I mean, this team just needs to sneak in there, but they need to start rattling off some wins. Right now, they're 5.5 games back in the AL West of the Houston Astros, and this should have been the stretch for the Rangers. Were rattling off a long win streak, especially after that series against the Cardinals, where you battered a pretty good team. You lose one in the middle there, but still a very good series against the Cardinals. But those 3 losses against the Rays really, really hurt this Rangers team. I mean, even every single loss at this point, the Rangers just need to rattle off a long winning streak of 5 or 6 or 7 or 10. 50 games would be nice, but I'll take a 5-win winning streak. And they can't afford to drop any of those games this coming weekend against the White Sox. The Royals are a fierce team right now with a great pitching staff, and the Rangers are going to need to figure out how to hit, because this offense, they had some moments this weekend, but even when you score 4 runs, if you go 0 for 11 with runners scoring position, you should have scored a whole lot more. And it was a good game on Sunday in the bullpen game for the Rangers offense in terms of just really 2-3 hitters. I mean, Evan Carter and Jake Berger were both a triple shy of the cycle, both of them having 3-hit days, both of them having home runs, both of them having doubles, and really good overall at bats. The rest of this offense not doing a whole lot outside of Marcus Semien, who was able to drive in a run with the ground out, or with the ground out, and a couple of hits for him and an RBI. Josh Smith able to get a couple of hits at the top of this lineup, but a day off for Wyatt Langford, who has been in a horrific skid for the entirety of the month of May that has now, stumbled into June. We are now 10 days into June, and he is still not pulled out of it despite an incredible month of April. Corey Seager has gotten, I believe, 1 hit since he's come off the IL. He is striking out at a very, very high rate. He is expanding the zone at a very, very high rate. He got robbed of a couple of what should have been, singles in this series against the Nationals, but it's not like he's hitting the ball to the wall and, these outfielders are making incredible plays on it. The Rangers need Corey Seager to get hot, and get hot now. He was 0 for 4 in that game Sunday with just a walk, and his OPS is now down to 700 on the season. You look at the rest of this Rangers offense, and 700 is, one of the higher watermarks for this offense. You look all the way up and down, and there's not much going. Nobody has an OPS of 750 or higher. The highest OPS on the team at this point is Josh Smith at 735, which is Fine for Josh Smith. Offense has been really down so far this year because a 735 OPS this season is 12 points better than league average. Josh Smith has a 735 OPS. He's slugging 1 point under 400, and he has a 112 OPS plus, which is confusing. Wyatt Langford has a 732 OPS with a 109 OPS plus, and at 700, Seager is exactly league average, which goes to show you that offense has been very down this year with the weird strike zone. But again, this offense has to turn things around and quickly. And maybe this weekend series against the Minnesota Twins is a time where they're going to do it. We're talking about that and a little bit about Kumar Rocker spending some extended time in AAA and why that is absolutely the best thing for him and this Rangers squad now and in the future. Right after this. This show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much money I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and I save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's Monarch Money, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Shout out to the everydayers being Locked On Rangers, your first listen every single day after every single game. You got Jeff Biggs with the Locked On Rangers postcast coming to you live right after all 162 games in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds and on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Shout out to Jeff for holding it down this weekend while I was MIA just a little bit. Just like this Rangers offense has been pretty MIA to this point, and I'm thinking that maybe this extended time on the IL for Jock Peterson will help him start to get things right. He's going to be out 6 weeks from when he got hit in the hand by a pitch and broke his hand. That was, I believe, 3 weeks ago. So we've still got some time for Jock Peterson to be on the IL. The rest of this offense has had some struggles for sure. They thought that maybe Alejandro Ozuna coming up, being that kind of a spark plug for this offense, could do something, but he has been in a really, really rough way since those really good first couple of games. The at-bats have been okay, but not great. He's hitting just 154. He still doesn't have an extra base hit 11 games into his big league career. He's still walking at a decent rate. The 8 strikeouts in 32 plate appearances is, a 20% strikeout rate. That's fine. That's still a little bit below league average. The walk rate, 5 in 32 plate appearances is not quite at, good rates. The defense has been okay at points, but he has not been that spark plug. Adolis Garcia has hit in 5 straight games. It doesn't really feel like it because his OPS is still, really low at 623. Feels like he hasn't hit a homer in, quite some time, or at least had, those runs of extra base hits where he's been hitting the ball hard, and he's even been hitting the ball hard to the opposite field, which usually is an indicator that Adolis Garcia is about to be on a hot streak. But he's been doing that for about a week and a half now, and the hot streak still has not been coming for him. Marcus Semien has really completely turned around his season with an incredible last 9-day stretch, basically since that series against the St. Louis Cardinals, where Marcus Semien was just on fire. He had a really good series against the Rays offensively, at least, and he had another pretty decent series this weekend against the Nationals, getting a multi-hit game a couple of times and driving in 4 runs of the Rangers 5 in that game on Saturday. But still, the rest of this Rangers offense is having some real issues. I mean, Evan Carter, thankfully, he's turning things around a little bit with that great game on Sunday. Would like to see that a little bit more consistency. Would like to see Jake Berger hitting a little bit more consistently. I mean, he had a great first week or so once he got back to the major leagues after being just straight up optioned to the minor leagues. But he has also been having some trouble with just hitting fastballs right down the middle. The rest of this team has also had some issues with hitting fastballs right down the middle. The most hittable pitch, a lot of times the Rangers are either just fouling it off or just straight up taking it early in counts, hanging breaking balls, just taking these pitches and not being aggressive first pitch swinging at great hittable first pitches. Not that you have to swing at every single first pitch. Not everybody's Corey Seager, and even Corey Seager isn't Corey Seager right now. This offense just needs some help. The rotation doesn't need some help, and so taking a little bit extra time for Kumar Rocker to mature at the minor league level, he has some things to work on. Mainly just not being so hard-headed. Now, baseball players have to be hard-headed. And I think one of the biggest problems with Kumar Rocker in his development has been his success. One of the things that has prevented him from being a great major leaguer is that he's been too great at every single level that he's been at. Now, what I mean by that is that he hasn't really had to adjust. He has just been able to do what he wants to do wherever he wants to do it, and it has been good enough to obliterate every single hitter, basically every single hitter that he has faced until he got to the major leagues. And then he got to the major leagues, and he realized big leaguers are a lot better than minor leaguers, but he was still kind of insisting on his own way. He's got now 3 different versions of his breaking ball, which is a truly elite pitch. I mean, he's got the cutter version, which we hadn't seen in the big leagues until his most recent start. That was the one against Tampa Bay, where it looked like, for the most part, Tampa Bay hitters could not do anything with it. He's also got the slider version, which he has used most often this year, which has been incredible. And he's got the slowest version of that curveball version of it that has been also really good whenever he's broken it out. But a lot of times what's happened, and we saw this with the fastball, of him just trusting only that 4-seam fastball way over the 2-seam version, which has been the better version. He trusts the 2-seam version a little bit more in that game against Tampa Bay. But he's got 3 versions of the breaking ball. He might not have, the best feel for it every single version in every single game, but if he could just throw it, just make hitters respect it, he's usually turned himself into a 2-pitch pitcher in every start. He'll pick a version of the fastball, he'll pick a version of the breaking ball that feels good, and if he throws one version of that breaking ball that doesn't work, he just abandons it. I mean, you look at the pitch count and the pitch types that he threw in that start against Tampa Bay, it's kind of similar to what he's done in the past. Whereas if he could just trust his catcher, he could just trust his pitching coach, his game plan, trust the guys behind the backstop, let them decide what pitches are going to be thrown. Let them understand how your stuff works against other big leaguers. And if he stopped throwing any version of the fastball whatsoever and just threw that cutter, that slider, that curveball, if he could throw all 3 of them in one game and throw them, frequently enough to where hitters can't just say, "Oh, I see spin. I know that it's this version of this breaking ball because that's what he's throwing." And having to respect all 3 of those pitches, he could be just a 3-pitch pitcher and be exceptional. Now, I think eventually he would need some help with that changeup, it's not a great pitch. It's fine if he just trusts it and can use it to set up his other pitches. If he keeps throwing that sinker, if he can throw both versions of the fastball, then it would make both of them better, but not throw the 4-seam fastball too much. If he could just throw all of his pitches, not all of them are going to be on, but just throwing them enough to keep hitters off balance, then I think he could be a truly incredible starting pitcher. I mean, exceptional starting pitcher, but he hasn't done that yet. And it's going to be really hard for him to do that if he's not facing this kind of adversity, if he's not getting beat up, if he's not, if he's not failing, and he hasn't failed before outside of, injuries. That's not failing. When he's been on the mound at every level, he's been incredible. Outside of really the Arizona Fall League, but that was still basically rehab for him whenever he, came back and made his first professional outings with the Texas Rangers in that, 3 or 4 or 5, however many games he threw in the year that he was drafted. But for the most part, I mean, when he's been in the minor leagues, you look at those rehab starts, even you look at those starts that he made once he was fully healthy in 2024, and why he just jumped right up to the big leagues. It's because there was nothing minor leaguers could do. And so I think that having this level of failure, and it's been a lot of failure. There's been moments of brilliance for Rocker. I'm not saying that everything he's done this year has been bad at the major league level, but he has failed. You look at the stats. I mean, 6 starts. He's gone under 4 innings per start. He's got an ERA right around 9, just a little bit below 9, but he's given up 4 homers in 23 innings. He's just not had that success. that he wanted to have. And you need to fail before you change anything, because if you haven't failed, why would you change anything? The Rangers were probably suggesting for him to, try and use more of these versions of the breaking ball to trust the sinker more. But, when he's having success against, double A and triple A guys with just throwing the four seam fastball and the slider, like, why? He's like, why would I need to throw this changeup? He didn't throw the changeup basically at all in college, because he's like, why do I need to? I don't need to. I can dominate these guys with just two pitches. But big leaguers are just too darn good for him to do that. So he got sent back down to the minor leagues. Part of that, I think, was also because his head wasn't in the game defensively, and he let at least one extra run score. Probably should have been, two runs that he didn't let score, and could have been a win for the Rangers in that game in Tampa. But, one defensive lapse and mental lapse, and then another mental lapse all in one play. I think that also led to him being demoted back down to the minor leagues. And we ended up seeing a Jacob Latz bullpen day today, as opposed to what we could have seen a Kumar Rocker start. And then, they might have made a different decision when Nathan Eovaldi is eligible to return off the IL on, I believe, Friday or Saturday. It's the 13th. So whatever day that is, or maybe it's the 14th. It is going to be basically before, it's going to be before this or during this weekend at home against the White Sox. He will be ready, or at least eligible to return at some point. But Rocker needs this time in the minor leagues, and I think we might see some slightly worse numbers in the minor leagues. And I think that would be encouraging, because it would be him, trying out, what the Rangers have been telling him to do. Of just, I'm sure they're telling him to throw multiple versions of the breaking ball in a single game. And just, even if you don't have, the best feel for a curveball on the night, it's more of a cutter night, and being able to throw the slider and the curveball to make him set up the pitch that you have the better feel for. I think that will be a much, much better long-term thing for Kumar Rocker. And, 6 bad starts aren't great for a team that is trying to compete right now. But I think overall, for the long haul, for his Rangers tenure, I think this will be the best thing for Kumar Rocker and the Texas Rangers. Now, this is going to be a tough series against the Twins, who have been a good team so far this season. Hopefully, a team that the Rangers can, turn the offense on against, but it's going to be tough with a good starting rotation and a good bullpen for this Minnesota Twins team. But again, right now, just winning is all that matters the most. The Rangers need to take 2 out of 3. They need to just keep winning series after series after series if they have any hope of clawing back into this AL West race. And with this rotation being so good, just keep winning, and this rotation will maybe sneak you into this postseason. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.